ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהכל נהיה בדברו. We are celebrating Succot, tabernacles, a festivity in which we are ordered to leave our home, our dirat keva, which means our permanent home, and spend 7 days in dirat arai, in something that is temporal. We have to be outside of our home. Why should we do it? Because our ancestors, when they were in the desert, they built certain huts in order to protect themselves from the sun, from the rays of the sun, and in general from the wind. I don't know exactly what, but this is where they lived, in the desert. So in order to relive their experience, God tells us, you know what? For 7 days, leave your permanent home, live in a hut for 7 days. What does that teach you? Well, one of the obvious things is it makes you define what a home is. Is a home bricks and mortar? Is a home steel, bathrooms? Is a home air conditioning? What is a home? You realize that you can live in a hut, and that can be your home. Your home is where your wife is, where your children are. Your home is where you study. The home is where you think, where you pray. This is what is your home. Your home are not walls. Your home is something else. It's relationships that you have. So for 7 days, you go out of your home to understand what a home really is. Of course, on the other hand, when you go back, you appreciate your home also, your permanent home. You realize what the comforts that you really have. I am reminded of a story, an oft-repeated story of a poor man that comes to the rabbi and says, Rabbi, my wife and my children, we all live in one room. Life is impossible that way. What can you suggest in order to alleviate our situation? The rabbi thinks for a moment and says, do you have any animals around your home? He says, yes, I have a small calf. You know what? Take that small calf into your room. The man says, but Rabbi, I already told you that it's very difficult the way we are. Do what I say. Take the small calf into your room and come back in 2 days. 2 days later, he comes back and says, Rabbi, it's impossible. You made our lives worse, miserable than before. The rabbi says, you know what? Take the calf out and come back 2 days later. 2 days later, he comes back and the rabbi says, well, how are things? Great, Rabbi. Thanks a lot, because removing that calf is making life that much more comfortable. It's a parable, of course, but we appreciate things when we don't have them. So if you go out of your home and you come back, you realize how important your home is. Rabbi Yitzchak Hutner was the name of the head rabbi of Yeshiva Chaim Berlin. I was told by one of his students, when the holiday of Sukkot came, he lived literally for 7 days in the Sukkah. He never went out except to make his hygienic necessities, but there was no bathroom in the Sukkah. Otherwise, he never left it. He slept there. I asked a follower of Lubavitch, did the Rebbe of Lubavitch sleep in the Sukkah also? He said no. He lived in the Sukkah, but when it came to sleeping, he didn't sleep in the Sukkah. Why not? Well, there are many authorities in the Middle Ages and so on that said that to sleep alone in a Sukkah is really a lack in the sentiment of simcha, of rejoicing that you should have on the holiday. And then again, if you're staying there with your wife, there's a lack of privacy in a hut. So therefore, we don't practice it, and many don't practice it. But in general, the idea is to go out of your home. But I read a different and novel interpretation of Rabbi Norman Lamb, who was the president of Yeshiva University. He says, in his writings, on 1 week, I once went to see 2 different people. One was in Avelut. He was an Avel. That means he was in mourning. He was for 7 days in his home, thinking about the parent he had just lost and receiving visitors to comfort him. The other one was a person who was hospitalized. Something happened to him and the doctor felt, you need closer vigilance. I want you in the hospital for a couple of days. 2 different situations. One was in his home because he had lost somebody. He was an Avel. And the other one was in the hospital because he was ill. But they had something in common. You know what was in common? They learned that they were not indispensable. They each had businesses, offices, and they thought that if they are absent for 1 day, everything will somehow collapse. But nothing like that happened. Things continued. They were out a few days, and the world didn't finish. He says, maybe God is telling us, go out of your house, and you see your house doesn't stop. If you don't sweep the floor for a week, nothing happens really. If you don't do all the things that you do every day, you can do without it. Many a times you think, here is your child, she's in 4th grade, she is part of a show in school, and she'd love her father to be present. But how can you come? You have to be in your office. Your office is going to fall to pieces if you leave. And then you realize suddenly, because of illness or something else, you're not exactly indispensable at all times. That you should really make time for your daughter. You should make time for your wife. You should make time for your friends. I'm not saying you should abandon your business, your vacation. Continue, but don't think that you must be tied to it 24 hours a day. There's a group of Hasidim. They have something that they call the dead hour. What is the dead hour? They say 1 hour a day. You have to disconnect yourself from everything. Don't talk to anybody. Don't answer the telephone. Don't watch television nowadays. Years ago it was something else. Just dedicate it to yourself. Dedicate to thinking. What are you doing with yourself? Are you on the right path? You think that many things that are not done, the world will come to an end. No. Realize that many things will continue. Of course, you have to participate in the long run. It doesn't mean you should abandon this world. But don't think that you are indispensable at every moment. You have to devote some time to yourself also. You have to devote some time to self-examination, to introspection. Devote some time to the things that are really important in your life. You will realize you'll start to differentiate what is not so important, what is important, what is vital, and what you can do really without. You will become a better human being. You'll be more satisfied with yourself. Maybe you'll become even a better husband. You'll become a better friend, and you will get closer to God at the same time.